Hello and welcome here to TalkFCB and welcome back to the channel here today, guys, as we will be reacting to Barca's win over Eintracht Frankfurt in the Champions League. I think there's lots of things really that we can look into from this performance, and one of those is certainly going to be surrounding Lamine Yamal. In my opinion right now, there are some concerns about where he finds himself on the pitch, the position that he is taking up. I do believe that Yamal is going through a few struggles right now. We need to talk a little bit more about that. We've also got some news on Raphinha's future at the club. There's been lots of speculation about that recently, and I do have to say, we've got to talk about Chelsea. We have to talk about their form since facing Barca. All of that is on the way, guys. So get yourselves ready and let's do this. Because it's safe to say that in the final minutes of yesterday's game, things got pretty nervy from a Barca point of view. But with Manscaped, you don't have to get nervous. With their skin-safe technology, you will feel safe, you will feel secure, and you will feel out of danger, much like having Joan Garcia in your goal. And that's why today's video is coming to you courtesy of Manscaped. Again, guys, I worked really hard on that one. How did it go down? Was that any good? But yeah, it's not too late to do some last-minute Christmas shopping here. Manscaped have got some absolutely fantastic packages available right now. Really speedy delivery right around the world. And remember as well, you can earn points from every single order there. You can become a Manscaped VIP. And the products, they're so good, so reliable and fantastic quality. And right now, there is 20% available right across the whole website. So just follow that link in the description down below. That's going to take you right there. You can get some great gifts secured or maybe something nice for yourself. And I really, really do appreciate the support, guys. It does help the channel. Because speaking of that performance against Eintracht last night, let me throw out there a few stats and a few really interesting facts from the game. Because this is the first time in Barcelona history that this team have completed 4 comebacks in a row. So every single one of the last 4 games that Barca have played, they have made a comeback, and that is the first time ever in our history. Now, what I want to ask you guys is that a good or a bad thing? Is this something that we should be really celebrating here, or is there reason for concern? Because I would say, on the good side, it shows mental strength, to consistently come from behind, not letting your head drop. It takes real belief in what you're doing, in sticking with the idea, with the plan. In order to make a comeback, you've got to be together. So that is certainly a good sign. But what I would say from a bad point of view is that we can't keep going behind in games. You can't constantly go a goal or 2 down and expect to always get out of that hole. We are giving ourselves obstacles to overcome, keep having to make comebacks. It makes things difficult for you. So I would say it's good. There's promising signs. It's good to see that mental strength. But yeah, we want to start games better. We want to make sure that on a rare occasion, we get the first goal. But I thought it was a really, really interesting stat there. And I'm not even done, because get this, Jules Kounde is the first player of Barca to score 2-headed goals in the same Champions League match. That has never happened before with a Barca player, whereby they've scored 2 headers in the same game. And I thought that was really interesting there, because obviously Barca, they're not really known for their headed goals. We're not going to be playing Route 1 long ball football, just pumping balls into the box to get headed goals. But yeah, Kounde, the first Barca player ever to score 2 headers in one game. And I thought the second header from Kounde was a really good one. I thought it was a really clever one there, back across the goal. I thought that he meant it, but then after the game, Pedri comes out and says, oh, I don't think he meant that. I don't think Kounde meant to score from that moment there. And I bet Kounde thought, oh, cheers, Pedri. I've scored 2 goals. I don't get to do this often. And you're taking that one away from me. But Kounde even admitted it was a little bit lucky. Maybe he didn't mean to put it so precisely in the corner. I think maybe he was trying to head it back across goal into the danger zone, and eventually it goes in. But yeah, we will take that. We needed those goals. It was a little bit sketchy there after going a goal down. Some big goals, and also good for Kounde's confidence in this game. There has also been some confirmed news this morning with regards to the Copa del Rey, which is now set to get underway again for Barca. I'm sure I don't need to remind you that we are, the reigning champions after that last gas win over Real Madrid. Also, by the way, courtesy of Jules Kounde, that incredible goal in the Copa del Rey final last season. But yeah, today it has been drawn. The draw has been made for the round of 32 stage. Barca will be facing the third division team, Guadalajara. And that's actually going to be taking place next Tuesday. That will be an away game, a one-off match there at 9 p.m. local time on December the 16th there. And it's going to be interesting in that game. Now the Copa del Rey starting, are we going to see a few of the younger players? There's going to be some opportunities that maybe could really be taken advantage of. I'm going to be interested to see exactly what Barca do in that game. So, coming up next Tuesday. Now, I do also want to discuss the future of Raphinha, because this is something that we've heard a lot in the media, so many different rumours over the past few days or so, and there had been a rumour, and I think we have to discuss this, that Deco had actually met with Raphinha, he'd met with his agent, and remember as well that Deco used to be Raphinha's agent, so the two of them there could well have conversations between the two of them. Now, apparently, an agreement was made so that Raphinha could leave Barca for the Saudi Pro League after the World Cup, so next season, for about 60 million. Apparently Barca had a pre-arrangement with him that they would allow him to leave the club and do that. And many people, after that report, they were panicking. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why they were panicking. That sounds like something Barca would do. That sounds like a deal, to be honest, that we've done in the past, whereby we just let players leave, even if it's to Saudi, we just undersell. We're just happy to let things happen. The good news is, and the reason why I can actually laugh about this right now, is that it doesn't seem to be true. Raphinha basically came out on Instagram. He said, I don't know where they get so much nonsense from. And I do like this recently. We've seen it from Raphinha. We've seen it as well recently from Kounde, whereby the players are straight up denying reports. They're coming out. They've got platforms. They've got a real opportunity here to say, that is not true. That is false. You have literally just made that up. And if I'm a player in those positions, I'm telling the journalist, that is not true. Tell everybody. Because, people make things up and they really, really do run with it. So it's great to see there Raphinha denying those rumours. Lots of reports now saying Raphinha, he's not going anywhere. Next season, he will be at Barca. He's a key player for Flick. He's a key player as well, don't forget, in the dressing room. So Raphinha, he is going to continue to be a big part of this team and he is not looking to leave the club. And I think we're all very, very glad about that. And then there's Lamine Yamal. And I think this is a very interesting topic right now in two different ways. I think firstly, let's talk about the reaction, because it is no secret there. He wasn't happy. He's never happy, to be fair, when he's subbed off. That's the kind of player that he is. That's the kind of attitude that he has, that he always wants to stay on the field. But whenever he makes a bit of a fuss when coming off, the media really do blow it out of proportion. But what I love is that Hansi Flick, he doesn't get sucked into any of that. We've seen a lot of coaches recently in the media, almost throwing their players under the bus at times. We've seen them being very critical publicly of their players. But Flick, he's not having any of that. He comes out and basically, he was laughing in the press conference. He was asked about Yamal's reaction and he was just joking about it. He said, look, it's Lamine. It's like this. But he said, I've got no problem. I've got no problem with him. I understand that he wants to play. He's young. He thinks he can play 90 minutes, 100 minutes. But he said it's okay, don't worry, I have no problem at all. I actually think that it's a good attitude, and I was a player too, so I understand it there. So Flick, he has no concerns. He has full control here of Yamal. He understands the reaction, and there's nothing too much more to say on that. However, where I do feel there's a lot to talk about, it's in the position right now. It is in the concerns that I have about Yamal playing too wide on the field. And I think a lot of us felt this way in yesterday's game in particular. It's also happened in previous Champions League games, thinking about the game against Chelsea, where he was just marked out the game. And you're looking at it yesterday, Eintracht Frankfurt, they have sort of 2-3 players on him at all times. Now, what that does mean, though, and we can't forget this, if there's 2 players on Yamal, if there's 3 players on Yamal, if they're tripling up on him, somebody else must be free. It's our job here as a team to get around Yamal, to be playing, to be aware of those opportunities, to pick out the free man. That is what you have to do in these situations. If they are going to pile up on him, let's find the man who's free. But I think one problem that we really do have right now is that there's not enough happening around Yamal, in my opinion. I don't think he gets a huge amount of support from behind him, from Jules Kounde, because I think that if we had a more offensive fullback, naturally offensive, massive. Kounde is doing a good job. He's doing the absolute best job that he can. And of course, he's been a great player for us at right back. But he's not bombing on beyond Yamal. He's not giving the players around Yamal something to think about there. They can just focus all their attention on Yamal because there's not a huge threat there coming from the full-back area, overlapping or underlapping. So that, for me, is an issue. I also think we're very static there in the centre-forward position. It's not as though the forward there is making runs in behind Yamal. It's not as though they're really running into the channels. So what is happening here is that because there's not a lot of movement around Yamal, one defender, two defenders, a midfielder, they can all drop in, they can all focus all of their attention on Yamal. There's not enough happening around him, which is why I would say, why is he so far out there then? Why is he, I assume he's being asked to play very, very tight to the touchline. Now, in my opinion, he's too far wide right now. I think even if you're looking at this season's Champions League campaign compared with last season in terms here of Yamal's heat map, you can see that last season, he was wide on the right, but there was a lot more going on in field. He was allowed to make those runs inside. He was allowed to make his way into the penalty area. And right now, he's just stuck out on the wing. He's not really able to be involved. He's not really able to be the heartbeat and make things happen. And what I would also say right now about Yamal, he is lacking that explosivity. Now, we know that he's suffering with pubalgia, and he still has that problem, by the way. Just because he's out there playing, just because he's able to play lots of minutes, he's still having to manage that kind of injury. It doesn't go away overnight. It is something there that needs to be constantly assessed and ultimately worked on in between games. And because of that injury, in my opinion, he's not as explosive. He's not able to beat players as he was maybe last season. And again, all of this for me, it just seems like right now, the best course of action is to get him in field. Get him in that number 10 role. We saw it against Betis, and it was brilliant. He was so involved, he was able to work his magic, and then there's so much happening around him. You've got runners either side, you've got the centre forward a lot closer to Yamal, you've got the midfield behind him, and it's almost as though when he's in that central area, you can't really mark him out the game. You can't commit 2 or 3 players to Yamal, because if you did that in field, the other midfielders, like Pedri, he'd be wide open. He would have so much space to hurt you. You can really double and triple up on him out wide when he's on the touchline. That's not a dangerous area. You can't do that in field. So right now for me, with the way that Yamal is, the fact that he's battling this injury, because the players around him on the right, I would bring him inside. I would like to see him more often in that number 10 role. We can get him more involved in games. We can try and make sure he's not being doubled up on, tripled up on. And if players do want to surround him, there's way more opportunities to feed somebody from the centre of the field. There's going to be lots more space opening up. And I just think right now, it's the right course of action. I would like to see it soon. I'm really interested to know, guys, if you agree with me on that. However, guys, speaking about frustrations, Yamal might have been frustrated when he came off yesterday, but I'm even more frustrated than that when I look at Chelsea right now. And I know people will think, well, why are you talking about this? What relevance do Chelsea have right now to do with Barca? And you know what? Probably no relevance. And that's my frustration, because since we have lost 3-0 to Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, when they did dominate us, admittedly, for a lot of the game with 10 men, but even before that, Chelsea were on top of Barca, they were causing us massive, massive problems. Since that game, they have not won a match. They've drawn with Arsenal, which, okay, is fine. They lost 3-1 to Leeds. They drew 0-0 against Bournemouth, and last night they lost in the Champions League away at Atalanta. Since beating Barca, they've done nothing. They have literally done nothing. Now, why does this frustrate me? Why does this have any impact on my feelings? The new Champions League format. This is what I hate about it. Because realistically, in the old format here, if we're in a group with Chelsea and they beat us 3-0 at Stamford Bridge, it happens. That's a loss that we have to accept. But in the old format, now we'd be getting ready for another game. We would be getting ready for the reverse fixture to face them at our home. Why is that not happening here? We have no chance to get any revenge. We have no chance to put things right. We have no chance here to ultimately show where we are now. And that is my frustration here, because Chelsea won that game fair and square. They've now fallen off a cliff. Their form has gone out the window. And there's nothing we can do. There's nothing here now that connects us with Chelsea in any way. There's no opportunity to hit back. And yeah, that is a frustration for me. I've got to be honest with you guys. I do miss that about the old format, having those opportunities to play 2 matches, home and away. Obviously, they're not connected. It's not like first leg, second leg, but you get that chance back at your home. Imagine facing Chelsea now at the Camp Nou. That would be an electric game, and it's something that we are just not going to get to see, at least right now in the league phase. So those there, guys, were just some of the thoughts that I'm having right now. Please do let me know in the comments down below. Do you agree there with my sentiments on the new Champions League format? It has its positives. It also has its negatives. So let me know all of your thoughts on that. And again, everything that happened in yesterday's win over Eintracht Frankfurt. Please do check out what Manscaped have to offer over on their website. Follow the link down below, and I'm absolutely sure you are going to enjoy it. I will see you soon. There's lots more coming up, and I'm excited now for Barca to continue this form heading into the weekend. So I will catch you all then. Thank you indeed for the support. But until next time, as always, Veshka, El Barça.